In the mid-2000s, the American mainstream was shocked when it found itself face-to-face with something strange and unstoppable, with big, buggy eyes and a vice-grip hold over alt-youth culture. After years of treating it as a mockable niche interest, the United States was suddenly faced with the inescapable popularity of anime. Starting with the highly successful and highly merchandisable Pokemon franchise, anime slowly began captivating an entire generation, showing North America and its marketing executives that weird cartoons about doe-eyed, spiky-haired, androgynous teenagers playing completely fictional games were perfectly profitable, normal, for kids and families to be interested in. The next few years saw no shortage of culture-shifting hits, and no partnership seemed to be a bigger hitmaker than Shonen Jump and Toonami. Several series originating from the weekly Japanese magazine would reach their biggest American audiences through Toonami, series that to this day are still altering the brain chemistry of 8 to 18-year-olds. Because of Toonami, there are people who have spent most of their lives following One Piece. Entire countries have been changed because Tom introduced them to Goku, Cell, and Bruce Falconer. By 2050, there's a real chance that at least half the House of Representatives will either have owned or know somebody who used to own a Naruto headband. And because of Eyeshield 21, I think it's safe to say none of us will ever miss the Super Bowl again. What do you mean you don't know? Eyeshield 21. It was a top 10 selling manga in Japan. Its anime had almost 150 episodes. It was literally sponsored by the NFL. It sold 20 million copies worldwide. I mean, that's more than D. Greyman, Rave Master, Zatch Bell, or even Cardcaptor Sakura. What do you mean you don't know any of those either? Eyeshield 21 was a sports manga published in Shonen Jump between 2002 and 2009. Written by Dr. Stone's Reiichiro Inagaki and illustrated by One Punch Man's Yusuke Murata, the story centered on an unpopular high school student named Senna, who's less than enthusiastically recruited onto his school's American football team thanks to his exceptional foot speed. Forced to hide his identity with a tinted visor, Senna becomes Eyeshield 21, his team's secret weapon and the league's most notorious athlete. The series was a cultural phenomenon, just not in our culture. While it was a massive hit in Japan, it never came close to reaching those heights in the US. Most casual American fans from the era have never even heard of the series, and those who have probably only know it because Senna was one of Jump Ultimate's stars Forbidden 3. And if you get that reference, congrats on being old. But this wasn't always supposed to be the case. Originally, rights holders had a bold stateside strategy in place to make Eyeshield 21 a household name. In 2007, an extremely unlikely partnership was struck between Viz Media, America's most popular manga publisher, Toonami, its most popular anime block, and the NFL, its most popular sports league, to help the series make a clean drive from one hemisphere to the other. While an English-language dub was produced and aired, a few fumbles in production resulted in a very different play from what was originally drawn up. Envisioned as a boundary-breaking cross-promotion between opposite industries, Eyeshield 21 would instead air just 5 episodes on the Toonami Jetstream video service before falling into obscurity. The episodes, which to this day are the only attempt to dub the series into English, would be lost for nearly 15 years. On today's Lost Media Monday, we'll dig through the dirty laundry of a dub's hollowed-out locker room to uncover the quiet history of one of anime's most peculiar exports. So wash your pads and leave a like as we talk nerd culture, sports culture, and the lost English dub of Eyeshield 21. Eyeshield 21 began publishing as part of Japan's weekly Shonen Jump in July of 2002, specifically issue number 1698. While it would go on to be a mainstay of the magazine for nearly a decade, it was seen at the time as a gamble by its publisher. In Japan, football was still considered a niche interest, and a highly popular manga magazine finding success centering a story around it just didn't seem likely. Shonen Jump was concerned, but they did give Eyeshield a chance, albeit a slim one. In 2014, writer Inagaki discussed how this led to him delaying the introduction of actual football games into the story, out of concerns for audience reception.
It was a big worry that the popularity of the manga would plummet as soon as football was depicted.
Shonen Jump has a very strict policy where any manga gets canceled immediately if it plummets in popularity, so I put a lot of precautionary measures into the story. For example, the first time we showed football in the story was episode 4 or 5. This was a very important episode because if the popularity of the manga plummeted there, I was going to change it into a Kamen Rider-style masked hero story. The title Eyeshield 21 would have referred to that mask. Thankfully that didn't happen, and I was cleared to do a proper football story. After hitting the pros, things only improved for Eyeshield, and a story Inagaki was unsure he'd be able to write at all ended up running for the next 7 years as one of Jump's most successful titles. But the series' true impact would come with the premiere of its anime adaptation in 2005. Over the course of its 145 episodes, the show's success turned the manga into a top 10 selling series, and rather than its football-focused content repelling its potential audience, the fantasy elements and well-written characters made something previously strange and inaccessible seem exciting. After all, who wouldn't love a decent drama based around a fictional sport? You're saying you wouldn't enjoy a well-written story with a great cast just because it's about pod racing? Or pro bending? Or hockey?
Think you're Gretzky, piece of Brett's probably mom in the 80s, bud.
But football wasn't hockey. Football was real, and Eyeshield 21 would become the thing inspiring a generation of Japanese children to start paying attention to it. By the time the anime premiered, the series had shown so much potential that its airing was promoted by NFL Japan. Suddenly, the people who cared about these teams cared just as much about these teams, and with a growing population of similarly minded potential converts filling the aisles of every hot topic out west, its right holders saw potential to stretch that success internationally. Following its breakout season, Eyeshield 21 would attract the biggest players in both anime and football, who created a less than standard player contract to bring the show to the land of the free and the home of the Super Bowl. In June 2007, Anime News Network announced that an English dub of Eyeshield 21 was set to premiere later that fall, with its release spearheaded by the aptly named Eyeshield 21 US project. The group was made up of Naz and TV Tokyo, who produced the anime, and Shueisha, who produced Shonen Jump. To capitalize on Eyeshield 21's championship window, the US project had put together an all-star roster with proven winning records. Heading the lineup was Viz Media, veteran publisher who handled the manga domestically, followed by Cartoon Network, leader in anime series per 60 in Region 1, and closed out by its biggest star, the NFL, cultural Goliath of the modern age. After seeing the genre-busting potential of Eyeshield 21, these titans of industry had formed an equally genre-busting partnership to bring the series to American audiences on the small screen. Well, sort of. Before we talk about Eyeshield's American anime, it may be good to talk about its American manga. In Japan, the series became a runaway success, but in America, where it had already been publishing since 2005, things were just a little bit different. Eyeshield 21 has sold over 20 million units worldwide, but it's safe to say most of those probably didn't come from Uncle Sam. Up to that point, Eyeshield wasn't exceptionally popular in America. US-based manga sales stats that I was able to find show that since the manga began publishing in English in 2005, only 3 volumes had broken even top 500 of yearly sales by the time the anime was announced. The combined units moved for volumes listed in those charts totals to about 5,500. Even extending to the end of 2007, after the anime had been revealed in America, only 1 additional volume would break that same top 500 mark. Granted, it sold better than its predecessors, but it only brought the total of yearly sales from charted volumes up to around 10,000. For context, the sales of Naruto totaled over 1.2 million in just 2007, just from volumes included in those same charts. It was clear that Japan's warm reception to the franchise hadn't translated, and the reason seemed obvious. Eyeshield 21 was the anime equivalent of a system QB, something that found success because of its specific situation more than its objective abilities. In Japan, where American football wasn't especially popular, its foreign nature added appeal to familiar character tropes and strong plots. But in America, where football is so popular that the other one had to change its name to soccer, the tables were viciously turned. Socially, anime fans and sports fans were at starkly opposite ends, and a manga focusing on football in America felt a little more invasive than exotic. Not that it didn't and couldn't find fans, but it faced a problem that was ironically inverse of Shonen Jump's original fears. In America, football reigned supreme, and a medium primarily consumed by outsider culture, finding success centering a story around it was always unlikely. Escapism and fantasy are a crucial part of anime's appeal, and space gunmen, ninja schools, and latchkey child MILF fantasies, I mean giant robots, will always beat out the favorite pastime of the people you're probably trying to escape from. This wasn't a struggle lost on partners of the Eyeshield 21 US project either. Viz Media knew the manga was a straggler sales-wise, and wasn't going to break the bank funding an anime adaptation. Toonami, who up to that point had been instrumental in curating the anime taste of what was now an entire generation, had to know of the series' limited appeal, and wasn't keen on giving it too much space in the block's shrinking bandwidth. The NFL, who stood as the cultural antithesis of that generation, likely understood the same thing. And as a corporation so popular it could change fates with a single commercial, it didn't have much of a reason to risk its own integrity for an anime whose lifetime domestic sales couldn't even compare to a matinee game between the Panthers and the Jets. Wait a minute, they were all concerned, and rightfully so. And while it gave Eyeshield a chance in spirit, it felt like something much less in practice. So, let's get back to this. Eyeshield 21's English dub was announced in June of 2007, led by the Eyeshield 21 US project in association with Viz Media, Cartoon Network, and the NFL to bring Eyeshield to America and Toonami. But not really. Instead of airing on Toonami, Eyeshield 21 would premiere on Toonami Jetstream, a free online streaming service that began running the previous year, featuring shows like Mare, Prince of Tennis, and Hikaru no Go. In other words, shows they felt wouldn't beat out Naruto or DBZ reruns in the ratings. It also wasn't a partnership with the NFL, but NFLrush.com, a child-friendly online football hub where the show would premiere simultaneously. Owned by NFL Properties LLC, a league subsidiary responsible for licensing and merchandise, NFL Rush was about 3 degrees of legalese away from the actual NFL, who would take no effort to announce or promote the project themselves. So, it wasn't an all-star collaboration between the best players in pop culture, but more like a few unfortunate subsidiaries the US project had gotten to help them distribute. Despite its less than star-studded lineup though, Eyeshield 21 was booked for a fall debut, lining up alongside the NFL for football season's opening snap. Shonen Jump's Hot Prospect series had finally made the game day lineup and looked ready to make a big play for American audiences, albeit in more of a minor league capacity. But then, nothing. All press on the show went silent, and come game time, Eyeshield 21 was a no-show. The fall season came and went, with no premiere and no mention of the series from Toonami, Viz, NFL Rush, or the Eyeshield 21 US project. It wouldn't be until December 14th, 2007 that Eyeshield 21 would finally have its premiere announced, for 3 days later, and only on Toonami Jetstream. It was certainly abrupt, and the absence of NFL Rush in the announcement was noted at the time by Anime News Network's Egan Liu, who stated Viz was unresponsive towards requests for clarification. While no one would say for certain, something had gone horribly, horribly wrong, and when the show finally aired, it showed. Eyeshield 21's dub was an obviously troubled chop job. Rather than directly translating the anime into English, the series was cut down considerably. Each dubbed episode would contain several of the originals crunched together, gutting the show's pacing and character building. For example, Episode 1 ends with Senna's Devil Bat's debut against the Koigahama Cupids, which occurs in the unedited series in Episode 3. This approach of using 4Kids style editing, mixed with Game of Thrones Season 8 style pacing, created something that Eyeshield's few existing fans hated, and new fans probably didn't even know existed. The dub's lone bright spot may have been its cast, which featured Yuri Lowenthal as Senna, Crispin Freeman as White Knights linebacker Seijiro Shin, and Devil Bat's QB Yoichi Hiruma, voiced by Derek Stephen Prince. But weighed down by its poor edit and non-existent promotion, the series would flop on Toonami Jetstream. Those who saw Eyeshield's dub quickly forgot about the show, its edits, and the former promise of its release. But not its theme song. Never its theme song.
Eyeshield 21, go on and make my hug. Give Eyeshield 21 the ball. Go!
Barely 6 months after being drafted for American airwaves, Eyeshield 21 was already out of the league entirely. Just 5 episodes would premiere on Jetstream, created from the original series' first 8. In July of 2008, any hopes for a continuation would be dashed when a fan allegedly managed to get in touch with Derek Stephen Prince, who provided details on the quiet falling out between the Eyeshield 21 US project and its high-profile partners.
What happened here is that Viz teamed up with Toonami and NFL Entertainment, a new division that opened up for this franchise. They weren't sure it would do so well, so they decided to test the series by putting the first 5 episodes on the internet. Because the number of hits the show received were far fewer than what they expected, the NFL backed out, and then Toonami.
While Prince vaguely states that only the first 5 episodes were released, it's likely that they were the only ones produced at all. By the end of 2008, the unedited anime would be made available to stream on Crunchyroll, who provided Japanese audio with English subtitles. Around the same time, the 5 episodes of Jetstream's dub would be practically scrubbed from existence. The Jetstream platform would close in early 2009 with the end of the Toonami block, but had removed Eyeshield months beforehand. As of 2024, those 5 episodes represent the series' only English adaptation and are still unavailable to watch, rent, or own in any legal capacity. Over time, the English dub as a whole would come to be considered lost media. That would suddenly change on March 10, 2023, when Anime News Network editor Michael Toole shared a rip of the released episodes through the Internet Archive, unaware it was ever considered lost to begin with. The series was posted in a lower quality due to being re-recorded secondhand, and the download link would eventually be removed on the grounds of copyright violation. The dub is still unavailable through any official means, and it may not be simple to track down the files, but the English dub of Eyeshield 21 is out there, ensuring that the end result of one of American anime's strangest failed initiatives is able to live on in history. Shonen will always attract fans based on its imaginative concepts, exciting stories, and relatable characters. But it's hard for something to feel imaginative and exciting if it's a relentless element of everyday life. For Japan, American football managed to strike the perfect balance, and the mangafication of something that only existed on the fringes of their radar made it worth paying closer attention to. But for Americans, specifically American anime fans, it was like telling Lex Luthor his channel was about to start airing a Superman cartoon. It doesn't diminish the objective quality of Eyeshield 21 as a series, but it reinforces a timeless lesson taught by series like Trigun and Big O. Sometimes, success is regional. Like how the Bengals could go undefeated, but only when they play outside their conference. It's also fitting that the series Unearthing came with the help of Michael Toole and Anime News Network. ANN's availability of their historical coverage has been, and continues to be, an incredible resource for research in this and other videos I've created. In the search for pieces of lost media and their history, the preservation of news and forums is just as important as the preservation of the media itself. These old pages are the only reason the story of the series can still be told, serving as one of the few concrete reminders it ever existed in the first place. Without their extensive archives, it's likely the dub would have never been found. In fact, it's possible no one would have known to look at all. But because of them, all 5 episodes of Eyeshield 21 can still be seen, preserving this historically disastrous, historically unique clash between cultures.